Welcome to the best sports betting show on the is WagerTalk Today, and I am your host, Andy Lang. It is $5 Tuesday. Every capper has a best bet up for just $5. We've got WNBA, MLB, plenty of opportunities on the board. We're going to break it all down, help you find the best spots. Gianni has a busy Steam report, so all of you that love the Steam report, buckle up, and then G and I are going to talk about a couple differing views that he and I have, so that should be fun. Skee Profit's going to join us, break down WNBA, the Dream versus the Aces, and then Steve Merril is going to join us. Red Sox and Phillies, one of the most bizarre endings to a game you will ever see last night. And then Dan and I are going to break down the Packers 9.5 on their season win total. So thanks for joining us, everyone. Please hit that like button. Let's get started. Let's bring in Gianni. Gianni, understand we got a pretty good morning here in Steam. A lot of action. What do you got for us so far?
Oh, yeah. It's been very busy so far. Subscribers, you should receive your third UFC bet. And again, these lines are moving. So if you do agree with it, don't hold back. This line's going to move. It's chalk, and it should go off probably like minus 350 at least. But I think we got a pretty good number. And real quickly, let me just look. Yeah, our 5% still line moving in our favor. Always good to see. So there's a 5%, a 4%, and a 3% already for you in MMA. Also, more futures came in NFL. You got that playoff. Will they make the playoffs or not make the playoffs? But here's some steam for today, some actionable information for you guys. Now, yesterday, right before first pitch, we placed 4 series bets. 3 of them I used as premium plays. The one I didn't, because we were opposite in game 1, and it worked out in my favor. Here's what I mean. We bet the Mets to win the series, very chalky. We bet the Cubs to win the series, very chalky. We bet St. Louis to win the series. All 3 of those I released as premium plays. Mets won game 1. St. Louis won game 1. The Cubs lost game 1. So we need the Cubs to win the next 2 to win that series bet. We need the Mets and St. Louis to win one of the next 2 to win that. Now, we also bet the Yankees right before first pitch. I didn't release that to subscribers because I was already on Toronto for yesterday. I had Toronto circled as one of the plays I like. One of the groups that I moved baseball for, they came in on Toronto. So I ended up betting Toronto. And then, like I said, later on, we got this Yankees series bet. Obviously, I moved it because I don't sit on their action. But I didn't release it to subscribers because we were already on Toronto in game 1. So that made absolutely no sense. But keep that in mind. So 2 of the teams lost game 1 that we need in the series. That's the Cubbies and that's the Yankees. Use that information as you see fit. Now, here's what we got bet for today in WNBA. WNBA's back, baby. Don't overlook the WNBA. I think I'm up almost 40 units in WNBA, so don't overlook that. 616 Washington, minus 1.5 and 2. Also a little money line sprinkle action on Washington once you got past that minus 2. 618 Minnesota, minus 11. 11.5, 12. 12.5, 13. So somebody's got to be out because Minnesota got pounded from minus 11. The last bet I saw on an account was minus 13. And finally, the line's not going to reflect it. And this is what I'm talking about, that there's a lot of manipulation going on, especially in these smaller markets. If you look at the betting line for the Indiana Fever, it'll look like the favorite's the side based on line movement alone. But that was on the overnight, very small limit bets to move that line. And when they opened today, we blasted Indiana plus 11.5 and plus 11. So if you're just looking at the line screen, you would probably be put on the opposite side. But again, nothing could be further from the truth. Not telling you how it's going to turn out, but I can tell you the sharp side is Indiana. And, I'll just give it to you now. That's actually the play I released to subscribers. I was thinking about using WNBA as my 5% play because I'm 69% on 33 WNBA bets in 2025. So we're running really well in WNBA. But I just didn't think Indiana, even though it was, kind of set up, dummied up to get that 11, I just didn't have a strong opinion myself prior on that side. So I released it as a 3% play, but wasn't going to make it the $5 play because I isolated a baseball bet that I really like. Speaking of baseball, here's what we got in baseball. So that Indiana was a 3% play. In baseball, here's what we got. Signs. I'm going to give you all signs. 956 Atlanta, minus 105, minus 110. 960 Cleveland, minus 125. 953 Cincinnati, minus 125. 965 the Athletics, plus 210, plus 200. 968 Pittsburgh, plus 120. 971 LA Angels, plus 155. And only one total. That's the 4% play that I sent out, that I gave out already to subscribers, and is up there for $5. Multiple. I had one total circled for today's card. I swear to you, one total circled from yesterday, and multiple groups hit that total. I said, my job's easy. That's the 4% play. That the $5 play. So that's out there already. So I don't have totals, but those are the sides. They got some overnight action, some follow through this morning. And like I said, those are the series bets we have pending, and some WNBA action for you as well. And there's NFL and college football season win totals are getting bet each and every day. So keep your eyes open, watch those lines, pay attention closely, and hopefully you uncover some gold as well. Like I said, something popped out to us yesterday that we hit. So every day, just new stuff coming up in college football and NFL.
Yeah, you want to look at injury report here. Gianni asked about a line. Well, Caitlin Clark is out. She's been banged up for a while now. This has been a real bummer of a season. And aggressive line movement, when she gets ruled out, I'm not sure it should affect the line that much. She's been fairly ineffective shooting. So maybe overreaction to Caitlin Clark. Atkins is still out for Chicago. I'm guessing that's why the movement on Minnesota has been there. Yeah, and Howard is out for Atlanta, so make sure you're paying attention. This is a big time of year in WNBA when you got to be checking the injury reports. You don't want to get burned with, why are we getting 16 points? Oh, the two best players are hurt. So check those injury reports, but that might explain some of the line movement. So, okay, Gianni, I want to bring this up to you. This is you and I have agreed on damn near everything. You and I look at things a little bit different on this topic, and it came up yesterday. You had a bet, and you beat the line, and you said, I did my job. I made the bet, and we got the best of the number. I had a bet where I got the worst of the number, but mine won. You would say I didn't make a good bet because I got the absolute worst of the number. And I would say, no, my bet was great because it won. And I look at it as it's a results-based business. When we log into our accounts, a winner is a winner, a loser is a loser. So you and I look at it completely different, and there is more than one way to get to a right answer. Sure. So let's discuss. Your job is to beat the number, and that's what you look at as a great bet, correct?
Yes, because here's what I believe. I learned this after I made enough money where I started investing in other things and not just betting sports. I realized when I got into stocks, crypto, that kind of trading, that the market's very efficient. And it lined up perfectly with sports and how I learned to win betting sports. When I started betting, obviously I was booking, but when I was betting, I was handicapping myself. Okay. Win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. Until I started working with a betting syndicate and saw what they were doing, crushing the line, because when I didn't get the good line, sometimes I would lose and they would win. Like I was seeing it in real time. That is, these guys were beating the line and making money hand over fist. And all they were talking about was beating that line, beating that line, beating that line. They never talk. These are street guys. So they didn't talk like traders. But when I got into the trading world, speaking to more guys that were more polished, more educated, what they leaned on was efficient market hypothesis, it's called. And that means you can't, it's very hard for you to beat the market because as a whole, the market's going to be right more times than wrong. Like once all the information's factored in, the market's going to be correct more times than wrong. So that's why it's so hard to pick stocks long-term and win individually. That's why, just like with sports betting, 99% of day traders lose money long-term because of that. Like they're trying to beat the market, and the market's almost always going to be right because it's got all the information factored into it. So I carry that over to sports to where it makes perfect sense to me because I know. Just a simple example, betting football. We're going to get the week 1 lines a week before, 2 weeks before, what have you. That early on, I don't know the weather. I don't know the injuries. I don't even know if the team won or lost the week prior. I know nothing like that. I don't know anything, okay? 10 minutes before the game, though, I know all of that. I know what the weather is. I know who's playing and who's not. All that information is now factored into the line. So that line should be the sharpest it is. because right before the game starts, that's when all the information's factored into the betting line. So my conclusion is once it's factored into the betting line, it's no longer valuable information. Kind of like with a total, like knowing it's going to snow. If you get down on an under before the adjustment, it makes sense. But after the line moves from 35 over under down to 31, just because it's snowing isn't helping you now. But if you got out ahead of that move and you went under 35, and because of the bad weather, the game goes off at 31, my conclusion is you beat the market. You got ahead of where the market's going to conclude this line should be. And if you do that over and over and over again, you should end up profitable. That's my defense in CLV, closing line value. That it's very hard to argue that the opening line is more efficient than the closing line. And more importantly, it's also hard to argue that you can consistently make money not doing that. Meaning if the line's moving against you, and to consistently make money, I believe is impossible. Now, there's going to be times, again, in the short term, anything's possible. We defy probability all the time. I talk about it. I bring the same example all the time. At the roulette wheel right now, down the street from my house is a casino. Someone just hit a number and they got paid 35 to 1. They're happy. They put $10. They won $350. God bless them. But we know that's a bad bet because there's 38 numbers on that roulette wheel. So they only got paid 35 to 1. So unless they were getting 39 to 1, it wasn't a great bet. If they were getting 38 to 1, then it was a coin flip, 50-50. No one had an advantage. But since we know they're only getting 35 to 1, we know he placed a terrible bet, but he still won. I carry that over to CLV. You could win without CLV, but I don't think you could do it long term.
So I look at it, maybe this is just me personally. I look at it that I think me and my team can do the research that we know a little bit more in the market. And maybe it has to do with that we're betting a little bit more of the obscure bets. Like we're not betting NFL money lines. We're not betting NFL spreads. But, for example, we got where do you cash to cricket play this morning. We knew more than the books did on this one. So I look at it and say, listen, you give me one fight, I may or may not hit it, but you give me 12 fights on a card to research, I'm going to find that one that I know more than the market does. And I just think you give me just one or two little inefficiencies, I believe that my research can outdo the market. And so when I look at it,
I understand that, but where I think you found the advantage is that the market hasn't factored in information that you may uncover. So you got to remember why you don't always need that CLV. And you're right. It's because the book's job isn't to predict the outcome. Like when they put a line as -7, they're not saying team A is going to beat team B by 7 points. What they're saying is that at -7, we're either going to balance the money, which is we're going to get 50-50 on both sides, which makes us a lock to turn a profit because we're just playing broker, which is almost impossible to do. They're almost never going to get 50-50 on everything. So since we can't get 50-50, that's only in a perfect world. The other way we could ensure we profit is by shading our line towards biases and making sure they're getting the worst of it. Like they're already getting the worst of it by laying 11 to win 10. We already have a 4.5% edge on them as the book. Now, though, I can make that a 6 or 7 or 8% edge by shading it towards your biases of what we saw last, of an overreaction to what a player's worth. And you, being an astute capper, may be like, dude, Caitlin Clark ain't worth that. The book may know that as well, Andrew. The book may know that also, but be like, you know what? We have to do that to protect ourselves. We know she's not worth 8 points, but if we only make it 6 points, we're going to get blasted with nothing but money on that side. So let's do that. And it's okay if guys like you come in and get the best of it. In those situations, I agree with you. CLV is not going to be the end all be all, but in a big picture theme, like I think even I bet if you looked at your last 1,000 bets, I would say you beat the closing line at least 70% of the time. I would, even on the most obscure ones.
Most likely, especially in the props market.
I would say you're a lock to do that. And that's a low figure. Based on your results over the last 3-4 years, I would say it's even higher than that. It's just you trust yourself enough that that doesn't, sometimes you will say they are wrong. That number is off still. And I respect that. I love guys that do that. I love guys that could do that. Like,
I think
don't change. Don't freaking change.
Oh no, we ain't changing,
bro.
Yeah, and maybe the other thing is because we're so low volume. Like, you give me 12 fights, and if I can make money off of one, that's all I care about. You probably can find 8 lines that you can beat it, and so the higher volume, you have a much better chance to do that. I'm not going to win 9 out of 12 bets with research on a UFC card. That's pretty much impossible. So it's an interesting topic.
I love it. I love it.
It's differing opinions, but it's more than one way to get a winning ticket to the window. We will absolutely continue this conversation because the more we can talk about this and the more we can, I don't want to say debate, but just show our differing opinions.
And you see other perspectives, bro. Listen, I used to think, and I know there's other great guests waiting to be on, but I was so anti-parlaying in MMA, and I was actually shown long-term results of a bettor that made money betting MMA parlays. How am I going to tell this guy not to do that? Bro, you have a statistical significant sample size that says you have an edge over those 2-fighter parlays. So have at it. Who am I to tell you different? I don't have all the answers. I tell you what works for me, how I've been able to make my little corner of the world work for me. And, once you figure it out, bro, keep doing what you're doing. And you have it figured out. Obviously, you have a big enough sample size to prove that. So approach it the way it makes sense to you, bro. It makes sense to you. You don't have to defend it at all.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to continue this conversation. It's $5 Tuesday. Tell her what you have up for clients. I think you already did.
There's that $5 MLB play. I love this play. I swear to you. Even a cash bet at the window, which, I lost the last cash bet at the window on Saturday in MMA. But this one was worth a definite cash bet. I need to get that back. So there's the 4% play up only for $5. WNBA I gave you for free. It's Indiana plus 11. NFL, college football, there's about 9 or 10 picks in there right now with a 5%. The rest are all 4%. Those are really strong. That's why we're tying up money. And, of course, the UFC package is up for Saturday. It's an early UFC card. It goes 9 a.m. Pacific. So it's an early card. The 5%'s up there. 4%'s in there. 3%'s on there. Bounce back. Good week this week. So best of luck to everyone again. Thanks for giving me extra minutes. I know Skeet's ready to come on. I know you got a lot of good guys coming up. So make sure you guys stick around. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Gianni. Gianni Detroit. Books very rarely ever kick someone for winning. They boot you if they see you have an advantage on them on the numbers they post. Yeah, we tell people all this time, if you're betting on the legal books, do not beat the number on props. Don't do it. You will get your book limited very, very quick. So be careful with that. So, all right, thanks, guys. This is a great discussion. Listen, leave us a comment. Tell us your opinion on this topic and tell us if you're enjoying this. I think it's important that we keep talking about these things. Like we mentioned before, it is $5 Tuesday. Perfect time to test out new handicappers or ride with your good old favorites. Every handicapper has a $5 play up. No limit. Grab as many as you want. MLB, I'm sure there's a ton. I'm sure there's WNBA. There may be golf. I have a UFC best bet that is up. We've got something for everyone. Take advantage of today's opportunities. Explore some new styles. And as always, bet responsibly. Make sure we don't have a huge chunk of our bankroll involved in just some of these $5 plays. But it's $5 Tuesday. Don't let it pass you by. Let's bring on Skee Profit, and then we'll do all around the world. Let's talk a little WNBA with our good friend here. Hakeem, how are you doing, sir? How was your weekend? WNBA was on break, but now we're back in full swing. How are you, sir?
I've been better, but I'm okay. I enjoyed my little time off from WNBA. I'll say that. And I enjoyed some of the good conversation you guys had before I came on. So good stuff on
Appreciate it. What's your take?
A lot of different opinions, but I'll say this. I think on different sports, COV is more important than others. Smaller markets, I don't think it matters as much. And I'll say me specifically this season, I've beaten a lot of lines as far as totals in WNBA. I might have won 2 of them. So I'm more about winning the tickets. I don't care if if I beat the line and I lose, it doesn't do anything for me. So I just want to pick winners.
That's what I believe in as well. So, all right, Skee, we've got a lot of games tonight. We've got Aces in the Dream. Can you talk to Aces in the Dream for us real quick? And I know you got some props in the Fever as well. Or do we just need to go to the Fever?
No, that's all good. We'll talk a little bit of this. And okay. Gianni, he can talk as long as he wants. Whenever you see me on the show, I'm not the most long-winded person in general. But I can talk any WNBA or basketball anytime. So this game, I'll say you have 2 of the stars missing for both of these teams. Atlanta Dream will be without Ryan Howard. She's a big offensive piece for them. And Las Vegas, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not expecting Jackie Young to be out there. She's listed as game time decision. The game before the break, she went down in the fourth quarter, and it was a hip injury. She did suit up for All-Star, but didn't really play. Just, go out there for 1 minute so she can be named an All-Star. So when I see stuff like that, it makes me think she's not going to play. And if you watch the end of that Aces versus Wings game, you saw how, and if you just know the Aces in general, you know how terrible they look offensively without Jackie Young. I mean, it's not a whole lot of playmaking you can trust. I know Chelsea Gray is called the point god, but she's getting up there and things aren't looking the same. So I do think the Aces are the more hungry team. Coming into the break, they were trying to make it to 500. They got there after a disappointing start to the season. Now, they're not satisfied just being at 500. I think they still have more to prove being at home. So if you get Jackie Young in this game, I absolutely would love the Aces, but this is one where I have to wait and see for the injury report to pick a side. As far as the total, again, both of those players who will be out are very important for the offensive end. But what I will say is having 4 days off, I mean, these teams knew 9 times out of 10 that they were going to be without him. So I think they'll have a game plan. I also think that after All-Star break, with both teams having so much time off, I don't think defense is the number one priority. Like, I don't think you're going to see the best defensive effort from either team. So I'll lean over. But again, I really want to see Jackie Young's status in this game.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the Fever. I know you got some props in this one. Caitlin Clark is out. We got to wait on the injury report, but we do know the injury report in this Fever game. What props are you looking at in this one?
Yeah, I'm looking at a few, but I'll say first off, you said Caitlin Clark is out. That immediately makes me think about Ari McDonald. The first game she played when she was signed to the team, she didn't hit her assist prop, but the 4 games after that without Caitlin Clark, she hit it every single time. She had 5+. I think she had 7, 8. So she's a really good distributor. They like to play up tempo. I think 4.5 is not a tough ask for her. And also, if the Fever are going to be in this game, you're going to need some people to score. Kelsey Mitchell, I want to say, without Caitlin Clark, she's averaging a little bit over 21 points per game. Caitlin Clark has missed, I believe, 10 games so far this season. And Kelsey Mitchell, I believe, has had 19+ in 9 of them. Speaking off the top of my head, but you get the point. If the Fever are going to be in the game without Caitlin Clark out there, you're going to need Ari to distribute. You're going to need Kelsey Mitchell to score. Those are the 2 props that I'm looking at for that game.
I love it. It's $5 Tuesday. Skee, what do you have up for clients?
I do have a top play in the WNBA. It is a total for tonight. And I have 3. I mean, if you know about the systems that I put out there, I have 3 of them that line up on this play. So if you want to be involved, you can find it at my page, wt.buzz/HP. And I will be live with Rob Vino in about an hour. We'll go through all 5 WNBA games, break them down in a little bit more detail, and see if we can find some more winners. So check us out over there in an hour and check out my $5 Tuesday play.
Skee Profit WNBA is back. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to get that $5 play over at WagerTalk.com from Skee. Let's go all around the world. Let's take a look at some free plays that we have up. We got a couple of baseball plays, and then we're gonna do a soccer play from our good friend Pavlos. We're gonna start with Drew Martin's Yankees at Blue Jays play. Likes the Blue Jays on the money line. Blue Jays, one of the hottest lineups coming out of the break. 18 runs in 3 games against the Giants. And Drew Martin gives a slight starting pitching advantage to Scherzer and a slight edge in the bullpen. Blue Jays 35-16 at home, so he likes the Blue Jays. And then we're going to go to soccer. The Independiente Valle, at Vasco da Gama. That was about as American as a pronunciation gets. Sorry about that. But Pavlos likes the first half to go over 1. Vasco needs to win this game by 4 or more goals to have a chance at advancing, so they're going to be pushing the pace. First half goals in Vasco's Cuda Americana matches are 3-0-1, and first half goals in Valle's road matches are 5-2-1. So we have a lot of trends that like early goals in this game. And then we'll do the Reds and the Nationals. I really like the Nationals over 3.5 on their team total. They basically had no offense in 3 games against San Diego, but they scored 10 last night against Cincy. Burns is pitching for the Reds, 6.91 ERA. He had a really good start last time out, but that was against Colorado. Here's a big thing. Cincinnati, 15th in bullpen. They used 7 pitchers last night, so their bullpen is absolutely tapped. I think the Nationals, not a great offense, but this is a really, really good spot coming off a nice offensive outing last night. So give me the Nationals over 3.5 on their team total. Let's bring in Steve Merril. We're going to talk Red Sox and Phillies. We got Fitz for Boston. We got Sanchez for Philly. And Steve, first time in 50 years that we've had
Abe Lincoln. Oh. Abe Lincoln, I love you so much on $5. Kiss Cam.
You... Great. Now Steve has to step down from his post at WagerTalk.
True story. This is how Johnny Detroit lost his first CEO job at a Run DMC concert in 1986.
Damn.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you know
happens.
it? Wouldn't you know it? That's great, Steve. I love the kiss cam. It's amazing. I was going to try and match you with your $5. I was going to, but like quarters doesn't exist. The quarters.
Oh, look at that. Prop
Exist.
master, Andy Lang. The prop master.
It's not as sexy as when you bring out a $5 bill. So I will splash the pot whatever I want. All right.
Unlike that, whatever CEO, I don't hide my love. Abe and I are we're an open book. I don't hide my love for money. I don't hide it anyway.
Exactly. Let's talk this. I mean, first off, what a bizarre ending last night. Catcher interference, walk-off loss for Boston. First time in 50 years. Surely you're going to take that into your handicapping on this game, right? Catcher advantage for Philadelphia.
Did you have that prop? You're the prop master. What were the odds on that prop?
Didn't see that one. Most books didn't have it. All right, well, let's talk about this game. Fitz for Boston, Sanchez for Philly. Philly minus 195. That's the favorite here. Over, under 8.5. What's your breakdown on this game?
So neither one of these offenses really hitting the ball that well. The Red Sox have had single-digit hits in 8 straight games. They've gone under 6 of those last 8, even before the break. The Phillies had that 17-hit breakout against Verlander and the Giants back the last day of the first half, the last Sunday before the All-Star break. Or I'm sorry, not last Sunday. It was on the 9th. It was a couple of weeks ago. But I bring that up because if you look at the Phillies, otherwise, 11 of their other 12 games, every other game except that one, they've had single-digit hits, even though they've gone over 3 of the last 4. What's tricky about this game, though, Andy, and by the way, I do lean Phillies in this one. I would probably play them run line minus 1.5 around even money. Did not work out last night. They got the 3-2 win, didn't cover the run line. But what gives me hesitation, what leaves this off my client card tonight, is the fact that the Red Sox have been really good against left-handed pitchers this year. And Tokyo Brandon and I talked about this on last call last weekend when I guest host. And I asked him, and he's a great baseball handicapper. You know, I was number 1 last year in units 1 in Major League Baseball. He's been number 1 like for 3 years in a row combined. And neither one of us rely much on lefty-righty stats. And Tokyo had a great point. He's like, those are against other pitchers. And I do agree with that. With that said, though, it is still a kind of a little bit of a filter that I use when looking at games. And I just wanted to point this out, that the Red Sox this year against lefties, especially on the road, have been much better. In fact, overall, in all road games this year, they're averaging about 4.3 runs a game. They're averaging 5.9 per 9 innings against lefties, batting .240 against lefties on the road, against everyone on the road, .267 against lefties. So it's about .225, .230 against right-handed pitchers. How do we use that to our advantage? Well, maybe a first 5-inning play with the Red Sox instead of a full game. You can get them at +1, -115 in the first 5. You get them at plus money, +120 on a half run. So I do like the Phillies overall in the full game. If you are looking Red Sox, I think you're much better off playing them first 5 or playing them early. And for my official free play for this game, I'll give you Red Sox over 1.5 runs in the first 5 innings. Now, I know Sanchez is a good pitcher, but once again, the Red Sox have been lighting up lefties all season. You never know what you're going to get with the bullpen in the second half of the game. But we're going to get a lefty for the first 5 innings. I'm pretty confident of that with Sanchez on the mound. So why not play the team total over 1.5? It's 3.5 for the game. It's just 1.5 for the first 5 innings. I don't think I've ever given out a first 5 team total over 1.5. And if you beat these consistently, you might get banned from your book as well. But I think it's a good chance to beat it tonight. All we need is the Red Sox to get to 2 runs in the first 5 innings.
I love the first 5 innings team total. I almost did the Nationals over 1.5. I decided to go with the full game. But Rakesh wants to know, what about the Phillies team total over 4.5 today? They 3.5 moved to 4.5 is a big move. Steve, is that a little too risky to play? Pass, or you want to sprinkle on that one?
So they got to 3 last night in extra innings in 10. They only got to 2 against the Angels on Sunday. They did get to 5 against the Angels on Friday, but they had 2-4-2, 3-1, and 4 their previous 5 games before the break. As I said earlier, they've had single-digit hits in 11 of their last 12 games. So they're not exactly lighting the ball up, to say the least. I do think they get a favorable pitching matchup, and that's one of the reasons I do like the Phillies full game is Richard Fitz is not going to give the Phillies fits. How do you like that? 4.3 ERA, 4.2 over his last 7 starts going back to early April. He was out of the rotation for late April and most of May. Since he's come back, mediocre results. I will say this, though, Andy. His numbers are probably better than his overall numbers because he had that terrible outing. Second time he returned back on June 2nd, gave up 6 runs, 5 earned in 1 inning. So if you take that out of the equation, maybe Fitz is a little bit better than his overall seasonal numbers. I need to see more from him first. So, but yeah, the Phillies offense is not in great current form, and Fitz may be a little bit better than that overall 4.2 ERA if you take out that one really bad start.
And before we let you go, any teams you got your eye on second half of the season? Could be a team you're looking to bet on, team you're looking to bet against. Any teams that kind of jumping off the page here where you're like, yeah, the team's overvalued or undervalued?
Well, you and I have talked a lot about this, about the crazy American League East, how the Blue Jays are barely a positive run differential, and they're winning the division. The Yankees, 109 net runs still. But I don't know. Something just doesn't seem right with the Yanks. They have gone 6-4 their last 10 now after having that slide. Blue Jays, though, keep winning. 7 out of their last 10, 4 straight. They're now 4 games up. I still think when all is said and done, the Blue Jays are going to regress a little bit. But the one thing that gives me pause for concern there is the Blue Jays are 32-25 against winning teams. Yankees are only 28-29. So, maybe Toronto is for real. We'll find out. In the National League, I still think the Dodgers are probably a play-on team. They've only won 3 of their last 10 games, but they're really loaded, and I think they're going to catch lightning here at some point. They kind of did it last year, but once again, the concern I have with the Dodgers, like the Yankees, they're below 500 against winning teams. In fact, the only team in that division that has a winning record against winning competition is the Giants. Padres are 12 games below 500. Giants are actually 28-25. So San Fran, a little bit of a play-on team for me, but I think the Dodgers still pull away and make a run here in the near future.
Okay, do that segment real quick again. The winning records against winning teams in the Giants. Do that again real quick.
So in the National League West, only one team has a winning record against above 500 opponents. It's not the Dodgers. It's not the Padres. It's the San Francisco Giants, 28-25. Dodgers 24-27, but the Padres 20-32 against winning teams. The Diamondbacks are 30-32. So in that case, you could maybe say San Diego's also a little bit of an overrated team. And by the way, they only have a plus 18 net run differential. They should be 52-48 instead of 55-45. So Padres probably overachieving a little bit.
That's great stuff, Steve. That is really valuable information to know. You got to be careful when you're playing these Dodgers, and the Dodgers are going to be favorites in those games. So these public teams overvalued in some of these matchups. It's a really, really good look there. So $5 Tuesday, Steve. What do you have up for clients?
So we have an advanced NFL $5 play, which I put up last week, an NFL season win total. It's the only one I've released all year. It's my favorite win total of the season. That is up for $5 right now, and also going to have a strong baseball best bet because that $5 NFL play is up all summer. So this is actually a rare opportunity to get 2 $5 best bets. My top baseball best bet tonight, and also that NFL total play, if you didn't get it last week, is still available. Really like this season wins play. And by the way, free plays every day as well. The last cut for my best bet card always goes up as a bonus free play, and it is in that Yankees-Blue Jays game tonight that I just talked about. So get a free play Yankees-Blue Jays as well on my page right now, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, and get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM.
Steve Merril, incredible segment. Those stats are fantastic. Those are stats you got to know when you're doing your handicapping. So thank you so much for joining us. Once again, guys, it is $5 Tuesday. Take advantage of every capper on the site is eligible to have a $5 play up. My play is in UFC. We hit our $5 play last week at the Open Championship. So looking to make this a nice 2-0 in the last couple weeks here on $5 plays. We want you to get as many as possible. Try out new handicappers. Try out the handicappers that you've tried out before and haven't seen in a while. But most important, bet responsibly. Make sure we don't have a huge amount of our bankroll on there, but experiment with as many handicappers as you want. We've got MLB, we've got WNBA, we're going to have UFC that's up there. So a lot of different sports to take advantage of. All handicappers, $5 play on $5 Tuesday. All right, let's bring in, actually, let's go to Steve. Let's do Steve Duke's comment here. Any of y'all been trying to pair a $2 fave with their team total over 2.5 or 3.5 just to reduce juice? Race to 3 runs, another option. Long-term, Steve, I don't think this is profitable, and I'm a guy that does a lot of parlays. Trying to pair a $2 fave in daily sports, I think is asking for trouble. I'm never going to be pairing money line favorites in baseball, in NHL, NBA, college basketball. There's too much variance. The only team you can make a case for is Colorado. The Colorado Rockies have been awful, but then again, they won 2 games against the Twins. So I make it a rule that I don't do any money line parlay pieces from any of the daily sports. I just don't think over the course of a season it's going to be profitable. And anytime you're adding a parlay piece in just to reduce juice, like, it needs to be very, very well handicapped, and you have to have all the reasoning in the world to make sure it's in there. But just picking a random favorite just to say, oh, I'm going to reduce juice and not knowing all about that piece, I think it's really hard to be profitable. So for me, not really. I don't know if I would recommend that. So, all right, let's bring in Dan and let's talk the Packers here. Going to the NFC. Season win total is 9.5. I gotta be honest, Dan, I think they nailed this number exactly. This one is really hard to find a good way to go over or under here. I went to Pro Football Focus. I know they're not the be-all, end-all, but it's at least a starting point here. And I was pretty surprised here. They have their defensive line ranked only 24th. Their offensive line 14th. They don't seem too high on this team, yet they were 11-6 last year. And they had their offense ranked 8th last year and their defense ranked 12th. I know they got some injuries at the wide receiver position, but I'm interested in your take before we go over the schedule. What do you make of this 9.5 number on the Packers?
Yeah, honestly, Andy, we're a little bit at odds here because I think this is a full game low on the Packers.
Let's go.
This is a strong over bet for me. Absolutely. The 9.5 for me. Just again, it feels at least a half win. Like, this thing should be sitting at 10. So, all right, let's start with the fact that this team, as you mentioned, they win 11 games last year. Andy, since the Eagles and the Packers had to play on that absolute joke of a field in Brazil, Jordan Love wasn't healthy the entirety of the year. Even when he was good, he was not good. And the fact that they were able to amass 11 wins, I think is a huge harbinger of what's to come for this team. They had a great draft. They finally shake off not taking a wide receiver high in the draft, thumbing their nose all those years at Aaron Rodgers. He sees what they do in the draft this year and was like, where was that when I was here? I think they have weapons galore. And sure, yes, there's injuries heading into the year, but they kind of have an embarrassment of riches in that wide receiving core. No one who's going to be the absolute stud runaway one. But for how this offense is predicated on spreading the ball around, you don't really need a guy who's the number one wide receiver. You don't need a Devontae Adams and then the rest. They have, addition by a strong wide receiving core there. You wonder what the NFL thinks about them. Right out the gate, they have like 4 different primetime games. So this is a team that the NFL expects to be pretty solid, and I view it the same way. I think that this team's not only a contender to be winning their division, a contender to go over this win total. I think this is a contender to potentially be winning the Super Bowl for this year. This is a team I'm very bullish on. I think starting the fact that they're here in the NFC North, they're going to be sharpened. Their iron sharpens iron. So they're playing in arguably the toughest division in all of football outside of maybe, I would say the AFC West, where each of those kind of has the bottom feeder in the Bears and the Raiders that are kind of the wild card. But for me, I think you have the wrong team favored to start this division, right? You got the Lions favored to win the division. I think it should be the Packers heading into the year. So over 9.5 for me, and give me the Packers to win the NFC North plus 260. I think you can get it plus as high as 290. So I'm all in. Go Pack, go. That's the way I'm viewing this team, Andy.
I love the conviction, Dan. All right, let's do their schedule real quick. Lions, Commanders to start the season, but then at Browns, at Dallas. I hate this bye so early in the season. What is this buy in like week 5?
It's brutal.
It's worthless. Come on. Then they go Bengals, at Cardinals, at Steelers, Panthers. That's a good winning stretch potential there. Eagles, at Giants, Vikings, at Lions, Bears, at Broncos, at Bears, Ravens, at Minnesota. I'm leaning to the over as well. I'm not fully on board as you, but looking at the schedule, and I agree that the Jordan Love injury was so swept under the rug. Don't we always talk about quarterback injuries, and yet it was just like, well, Jordan Love's not running as much. It's like, yeah, his knee's swollen up to the size of his head. Of course he's not running. Like, oh, the offense may not be clicking. Like, of course not. He's hurt. So I'm with you. It's a completely undervalued story. I think 10 is the right number as well. I'm rolling with you then. You sold me. You feel
Andy,
confident on this
the
one.
Detroit fans are coming out in full force. We got Gianni Detroit, who's a member of the WagerTalk Insiders. You can join WagerTalk Insiders here. You get some special perks that we have coming up. It's really cool. Shout out to the guy who joined us here. We got Ronald Blackledge who joined in. WagerTalk Insiders. You can become an exclusive member here on YouTube. Johnny, one of those. He must know someone that he had early access to become a WagerTalk Insider. But Johnny, stick to lacrosse, buddy, dropping a full pie when doing a video. They're angry, Andy. But we had Chris Allen, the guy we work with, he messaged me just saying, you a op. Andrew Wojcik, Detroit in the house. They're not happy with me, brother. They're not happy with me, brother. But when the wheels fall off, Detroit, and I can come on the show and say, hey guys, I tried to tell you so. Ride the Packers in this division. Then we can circle back. But until then, we'll allow them to besmirch me. As long as they're commenting after the video, telling me what a jackass I am. Make sure you do that. Don't just drop it in the live chat. Tell me I'm an asshole in the comments after the show.
That those comments, Dan, smells like insecurity to me.
It
smells like fear.
It does. I do smell a slight amount of fear in the chat here today. So who knows? We'll see when we circle back. I'm shocked they're not bashing me more for the Penn State hat. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the Penn State guy's telling us that we're going to go over, we're going to go under. So yeah, keep the hate coming, but keep it coming after the video goes live.
This might be one of the most polarizing over-unders that we've had in the chat this season. Who would have thunk it would have been the Packers? Daryl says Chicago Bears winning that conference. All right. I guess a lot of geography around there. Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, like all right there. So you get a lot of the fan bases there. All right. Well, we got to get out of here, guys. Enjoy $5 Tuesday. Make sure you pick that up. Get my UFC $5 best bet. We hit ours last week. Let's get a nice streak going here. Take advantage of all handicappers at WagerTalk, and as always, bet responsibly. Absolutely fantastic show. Leave us a comment in the comment section. Tell us what you thought about myself and Gianni's discussion. Tell us what you think about the Packers over 9.5. Good luck on all your plays. We're going to do it again tomorrow.